Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 91 of our WWE 2022 Save and TEW 2020. This is SmackDown for January, week 4, our go-home edition before the Royal Rumble, and a lot to get to in this episode, so we will jump right in. Again, be sure to check out Raw if you haven't already, I know we took a little break with the channel. If you're just jumping back in, be sure to check out Raw, because that certainly set up a lot for the Rumble, and now we will try to do the same here on SmackDown. So let's jump in. Pre-show, Mandy Rose gets the win over Eva Marie. I actually realized that we had not had this match before, which surprisingly I thought we would have at some point, since Mandy Rose has been back on the main roster, but hasn't happened. We put it on the pre-show because we did not have anywhere to place it on the main show. 43 overall, which is fine. Eva Marie off her game. Mandy, of course, joining now with Sonya Deville and Shayna Baszler, our women's tag team champions. Mandy will be seen again on this episode. So that's that. Let's jump into the main edition, which starts off with a video package looking at the attack. I'm going to say last week, but in all honesty, guys, it's probably been, 2.5 months. Looks at the attack that Jimmy Uso made on Seth Rollins, which in our most recent episode of SmackDown, which again was a while back, remember Rollins came out. He was ready to, basically call out Reigns, and they were wanting to just, let's settle this now. What happened was a video started to loop. It was the video from Night 2 of the Mae Young Classic, which saw Roman Reigns spear Becky Lynch. First time we had ever shown that replay, and it started to play on loop. Rollins gets very angry, but before he can do anything, Jimmy Uso blindsides him with the Universal Championship, which had been handed to him by Roman Reigns. Jimmy Uso picks up the Money in the Bank briefcase, and now it is Reigns and Uso, and Jimmy, in control of the Money in the Bank briefcase. So we see the video package looking at that, and there's a reason why we are setting that up. This gets an 89 overall because we actually jump right into it, and we see Pat McAfee, who has caught up with Mick Foley, our SmackDown general manager. And that is when Mick Foley tells Pat, I know what, you want answers, you want to know what's going on, after what happened last week on SmackDown. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to announce that Seth Rollins has a concussion after the attack from Jimmy Uso last week. So Rollins took a hard shot to the head, and Foley says that means that Seth Rollins is currently unable to compete, and, it's a situation where we are not going to allow Seth Rollins into the arena because of that, and knowing the heated rivalry between Seth and Roman Reigns. We cannot allow him even into the arena because we are not going to, kind of take that chance on what can happen there with Seth Rollins dealing with this. So Foley essentially saying Seth Rollins is banned from the arena, but the reason why is because he has a concussion. He doesn't want there to be any sort of consequences with that. But before Foley can continue, he says, Pat, I also want to give an update on Damian Priest, who we saw kind of in a backstage vignette. We didn't see Priest on SmackDown in person last week, but we did see that he had been attacked by Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black. And Foley just says, look, Pat, I'm just telling you, we've checked in with Damian Priest, and I don't know if he's going to be able to make it to the Royal Rumble on Sunday. And so Foley just kind of giving an update there. So two big injury updates perhaps here. Rollins officially out with a concussion and not allowed into the arena. Damian Priest, Foley says, may also not be in action at the Royal Rumble. So there you go. That's a very, very important setup. We are setting up some things on this week's Raw and SmackDown that will actually play out well into the future, but you guys know I like kind of setting a few things just as sort of things you can go back on and be like, aha! Just keep that in mind as we do this week's edition of Raw and SmackDown. 76 for this segment. I don't want to feel like I'm giving too much away here, but you guys know I like setting up some fun things for the future. All right, match-wise, Samoa Joe gets a win over Baron Corbin, 8:22. I look back at this too. We actually have had this match before, but it was a while. I'm surprised I haven't done this more. Baron Corbin, I'm pretty sure, has lost every match he's been involved in our series, but nonetheless, the focus here is Samoa Joe. Remember, with Joe, what we've had going on is just kind of a continued push for him to prove, he's not reaching that retirement stage just yet. He wants to prove that he can still be at the top. And as we've heard him say in promos and, recent win over Shinsuke Nakamura, Joe is out to win the Royal Rumble. And he wants to be back at the top and kind of put himself in a position where he could perhaps, be champion and go out as champion in his career. And so we've been pushing kind of the highlights of his career and everything with Samoa Joe. So he gets a win here, 64, and that gives him, some confidence heading into the Royal Rumble. And now we jump into, oh boy, you guys know I get excited when we get into the Sami Zayn segments. And I don't know if I'm doing it as well as they are in reality, but we have had a lot of fun with Sami Zayn here, and I think you will enjoy this one on this episode of SmackDown. So, backstage, we see Sami Zayn. He's with The Miz, and if you don't remember, Sami and The Miz teamed up against the Viking Raiders on last week's SmackDown, and it was The Miz actually sort of, taking the hit for Sami Zayn, stepped in front of it after Zayn looked like he was toast, and yeah, Miz stepped in, and that allowed Zayn to actually reverse the momentum and get a roll-up victory on, I don't remember if it was Ivar or Eric, but one of the two. And so Zayn and Miz were successful in that match. So Zayn thanking Miz, taking one for the team, and just kind of pushes their friendship. And he says, Miz, I want to show you just how much I appreciate you. I have gotten you a gift. And Sami reveals a sort of square gift box. So he has this in his hand, and he says he's going to present this to The Miz after The Miz's match tonight. So just get ready. 71 for this one. You guys know I love my Sami Zayn segments, and well, this is another one I think that I will enjoy. But and there's plenty more to come with Sami Zayn. Of course, we'll get into that here in a minute, but just a lot more to come. Anyways, McAfee's back again. He's with Sonya Deville, Shayna Baszler, Mandy Rose, and of course, it is Deville and Baszler have continued, Trish and Lita, as we saw, made their return to kind of side with Paige. We had the 6-woman tag. Recently it was Trish getting the pin on Mandy Rose, and, Deville and Baszler got pissed about that and letting Trish and Lita get involved in all this. And so they are saying, well, you know what? We've got something to prove to Trish and Lita, the has-beens. Everybody calls them legends. Well, all I know is we've been the tag team champions in the women's division for months and months and months. And we're going to go out and do the exact same thing we always do, but we got a little bit something extra to prove in our match tonight. So Deville and Baszler just kind of, taking shots at Trish and Lita, and that is kind of your setup there for that, given everything that's been happening recently. So a 48 here for this one. And, of course, it is going to be Shayna Baszler and Sonya Deville getting the win here in tag team action over Mia Yim and Dana Brooke, 502. Look, this gets a 44, a pretty brutal rating. We had to set this as storytelling because we have to have one of those, on every show. And so we kind of expected this to cool the crowd a little bit, but I had to put the storytelling note, again, because it's a requirement, somewhere. And I just figured this is probably going to be the lowest rated match, so let's just bring it on down some more. And so we just kind of had to put that there. So I'm not really worried about it, but as you know, we've really been pushing Baszler and Deville pretty strong here, and we've got some good stuff in the works for them, but it's been more of a, kind of a slow burn to get to where we want to go with these two. But 44 for this one, and yes, so they will head into the Rumble. They will both be in the Rumble, but we'll see what comes of that. All right, and then we get sort of the official announcement that Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black are going to be in the Royal Rumble match. And, it's noted that it was announced earlier in the week. There were some rumors that these two were going to be announced for the Rumble, and that'll come into play in a little bit and something else we're doing. But, so yes, they are officially in the Rumble, and that's when Bray Wyatt, points out, look, we said, recently in one of our interviews, we have bigger goals in mind than just Drew McIntyre. I know this stuff with Drew McIntyre has been going on for a long time, but Bray just says it's just a piece of the puzzle. We have much bigger goals, and, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, anyone else, when we step into the ring at the Royal Rumble, we're going to prove that we have much bigger goals because what we want is the power. We want to get and be at the top. We want to have that championship in our hands, multiple championships in our hands, because we, are the rulers of the world, and we are going to rule the world. And you will find that out soon enough. So, it's just kind of Bray Wyatt cutting his usual promo here, pointing out that what they want is not just to continue this thing with Drew McIntyre, which has been going on for a long time, as we know, with Bray and Drew, but Bray has bigger things in mind, and part of that is just gaining more and more power in WWE, and as he said, wanting to be the ruler of the world. So what does all that mean? With Bray Wyatt, you never know, but you will find out eventually. 76 for this one, and that will be kind of your lead-in to our main event tonight, which is going to be Aleister Black taking on Shinsuke Nakamura. But before we get there, a lot more to get to, as it's Pat McAfee again, going around everywhere. McAfee questioning Charlotte's recent actions. Now, the thing is, Charlotte's not actually in the building. Charlotte on the video screen here, and it's just kind of Pat saying, hey, I tried to get an interview with you here, and then I realized you weren't here. Why not? And I'm questioning, what's going on? Your recent actions, you came back last week, you attacked Paige, you attacked Bianca Belair, and that's when Charlotte just says, Pat, I never forget anything. I remember everything that anyone has ever done to me, and she basically says, I am out to right those wrongs. And, of course, it started with Paige, who beat her in the Mae Young Classic. Then it went back to Bianca Belair, who Charlotte feels stole her title away from her many moons ago. And so Charlotte now getting ready to be in the Women's Royal Rumble and basically saying she doesn't forget, she's out for revenge, and that's kind of the focus here for Charlotte. So 66 for this one. All right, then after we come out of that interview, Michael Cole kind of, tells us over a graphic here that Bianca Belair will be ringside for the Women's Royal Rumble match on Sunday. So even after the attack, Cole just says, look, I've gotten an update from Mick Foley, and he says that Bianca Belair will be ringside for the Women's Royal Rumble match on Sunday. So there you go. Even after the attack from Charlotte, as we know, Bianca does not have a match, which she did not long ago, but Raquel Gonzalez got the concussion in a match, in that tag team match we had with Bianca and Dakota Kai against Alexa Bliss and Raquel, and it was Raquel getting concussion that had to cancel. That basically that match is off now with Bianca defending against Raquel. So 72 for this one, and Bianca will be there ringside for that match. Speaking of matches, The Miz gets the win over Humberto Carrillo. 808 skull-crushing finale. 64, not a bad match here, but, Humberto's just kind of been in the jobber role at times, but this is way more about the post-match. And, of course, that is what we get into, because after the match, it is Sami Zayn who gets in the ring. He's cheering on his friend The Miz, and Sami Zayn is just, he's just so excited for The Miz getting this win over Humberto Carrillo, right? And Sami gets in and he says, Miz, I just want to say, before I give you this gift, we both have a lot in common. We both pinned John Cena. We've both been, United States champion. But what we have in common the most is our friendship. We are the best friends that anyone could ever ask for, and that is why, for what you've done for me, I am here to present you with this gift. And that is when Sami hands over the box to The Miz, and you can just kind of see The Miz standing around looking at this box and not really knowing what to expect here. But that is when Miz opens the box, and we see Miz just look down into this box. And it's like you can almost tell Miz is just trying not to laugh here. But he just kind of shakes his head a little bit, and then he pulls it out of the box, and the camera zooms in, and we see what The Miz is holding. And it is a button. And it is a button that says Sami's best friend. So Sami Zayn continues his theme of having all kinds of buttons. And that is when Sami pulls off his jacket. And it turns out Sami Zayn is wearing a button on his shirt now that he's added to his collection. Which, by the way, if you don't remember Sami Zayn's button collection on his jackets, one has said, I pinned John Cena. Another says, still better than John Cena. One says, pinned Kevin Owens. And now Sami has added a fourth, and it says, Miz's best friend. So we have matching buttons for the jackets for Sami Zayn and The Miz, and our friend Sami has gifted The Miz the ultimate gift of friendship here and displaying it on this button. Sami's best friend, and Sami goes and just attaches this thing to Miz's jacket, his kind of entrance gear and all that, which he's holding in his hand. And that is how we finish off this segment. It's 70 for this one. But believe it or not, we're not done with these two just yet. So congratulations to the friends, Sami and The Miz. All right, then things get a little bit more serious as it is Steve Austin, who has actually arrived here on SmackDown. So we know when the Raw general manager comes to SmackDown, it's something big. And it is here because Austin is in Mick Foley's office. And that is when Stone Cold congratulates Mick Foley on winning the bidding war. Now we're like, hold on a second, what is this bidding war these guys are talking about? And, Foley just says, look, Steve, I know we both wanted this, but, I knew that I needed this new signing. So Foley is officially teasing a new signing here. And he said, I know you wanted him, but it's something I've been working on for a long time. It's something I wanted to put together when Keith Lee was on SmackDown as the Intercontinental Champion. But any way we slice it, having this guy on SmackDown is exactly, what I want because I see what this guy is and what he can be. I'm very excited about this new signing. And, so these two just kind of continue to talk. And that is how this one sort of finishes up. So Foley has officially signed someone. He's won a bidding war with Steve Austin. We don't know who that is, but perhaps we will find out soon enough. So an 86 here for this segment. And then that gets us to, okay, wow, this is better than I thought. So that gets us to our 6-woman tag, which is Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi Sane against Alexa Bliss, Billie Kay, and Peyton Royce. So as we know, here with kind of how things are going to play out, all of these women will be in the Royal Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble, and it is Dakota Kai getting the pin on Billie Kay here. Top rope splash does it. Of course, Asuka head and shoulders above everyone. We've seen that many times in this save. She gets an 85 for an in-ring. She's fantastic. So 70, this did do much better than I thought. So they get to win. So it gets a little momentum here for the baby faces, I guess you could say, moving into this. Alexa, one of the things worth noting in this match, Alexa just wanted no part of this. She has her match with Dakota Kai. She doesn't care about Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. So Alexa just kind of standing off, never actually gets into the match. But Dakota Kai gets the pin here on Billie Kay. But what's significant is what happens after the match. And wow, this did much better too than I thought. So after the match, Asuka, which as we said, Alexa never got in the match, but that doesn't matter to Asuka because afterwards, Asuka goes over, puts the Asuka lock on Alexa Bliss, which remember, this has been a theme. Even after Asuka's matches, she's kind of held the Asuka lock on longer on some of her opponents. Even after Kairi Sane has had some singles matches, Asuka has come out and put the Asuka lock on her opponent. But now she puts it on Alexa Bliss, and so finally she lets go. And then Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane are just kind of standing off there in different spots. And then Asuka goes over, just kind of goes to hug Dakota Kai. But then Asuka puts the Asuka lock on Dakota Kai. And she's holding this on, and Kairi Sane's over there looking like, what are you doing? Like, what? Hold on. Like, she's trying to get Asuka off of, Dakota Kai here and all that. And that's when Kairi Sane sort of pulls Asuka off Dakota Kai. And then we see Asuka turn and get right in Kairi Sane's face before smiling and giving her a big hug. And then leaving the ring. 73 for this one. And yeah, I think you guys know where some of this is headed, but I don't know if you know the actual way it's going to happen. But Asuka continuing to show that aggressive side. We've seen it since Survivor Series, and now she heads into the Royal Rumble with everyone else, but perhaps Asuka a little more at 100% than Dakota Kai and Alexa Bliss, who will have to face off against each other in their singles match before the Women's Royal Rumble. So 73 for this one. All right, and then we have an interview, a pre-tape here. It is Michael Cole sitting down with Drew McIntyre, and it is Cole saying, look, Drew, I specifically requested this interview with you because to me and many others, you are one of, if not the favorite, to win the Men's Royal Rumble on Sunday. And he says, Drew, I know you've already heard because it was kind of rumored earlier in the week, and I'm sure, officially announced once we get to SmackDown, which of course it has been, that Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black are officially in the Rumble. And he's like, I want to know your thoughts on that. And I can tell you're banged up. You got attacked by them last week too, just like Damian Priest. And that is when Drew says, I don't care about anything else right now. Getting through all this Bray stuff, it's just been, it's been a long 6 months or so. But Drew says, even with all this going on, the reason I've been out to destroy Bray Wyatt and now Aleister Black is very simple. Because I'm going to do exactly what I have to do, and I will do anything to get back to getting that moment that I had at WrestleMania and becoming the champion, being at the top of WWE. That has always been the ultimate goal. And so Bray Wyatt has been nothing more than, just kind of a roadblock for me to get to my destination. And so everything that's been going on with him, I don't care. If it's Bray Wyatt, Aleister Black, I don't care who it is. When I stepped into that ring at the Royal Rumble and I get in there, I will do anything I have to do to win, because I know that gets me one step closer to getting back to the top, and that to me is all that matters. I'll finish the stuff with Bray Wyatt. I'll finish the stuff with Aleister Black, but right now I don't care about anything other than me winning the Royal Rumble. And so just a very sort of serious interview here from Drew. And again, Cole pushing, just like Pat McAfee has in recent interviews we've had, pushing Drew as perhaps the favorite or one of the top favorites to win the Royal Rumble on Sunday. And Drew very determined heading into this match. So 72 here for this one. And perhaps we'll see if Drew shows up again on this episode. All right, New Day gets the win over Jinder. Dio Madden 801. Xavier Woods gets the pin on Jinder here. The usual tag team bonuses here from New Day, which continue to have pretty good in-ring performances. I think that's something we haven't noted enough. These guys are pretty good in the ring. They've been up and down. They were former champions, but 63. Both are in the Rumble. We've already announced Kofi and Xavier in the Rumble, so we'll see if Kofi Mania perhaps gets another run. Xavier, can he pull off the ultimate upset? Everyone has a goal, and that's to win the Royal Rumble, and that's what I like about our build to the Rumble. You guys know there's certain guys that aren't going to win, but everyone having that determination, having a story that ties into it, I think is important. So even if you don't think Xavier Woods is going to win the Rumble, we've pointed out in a previous interview why there could actually be a chance. So that's all we're looking for. Just that way it's not as predictable, right? 63 for this match. All right. Then we see backstage, it is The Miz, backstage with Maurice, and they've got their bags in their hand. Sami Zayn, is there, and, Sami says, look, Miz, I got to go take Sarah something real quick. But that's when, Miz kind of changed the tune a little bit. He says, Sami, I just want to thank you again for what you've given me here. And we see The Miz kind of, wearing another jacket now, and he's got the button on there, Sami's best friend. And, that is when we see Sami just like, Miz, you're welcome, because you're my best friend. And so these two are just really, gushing over each other. They're just embracing their friendship here. And then Sami goes in and just gives Miz a big hug. And then Sami walks off, huge smile on his face. And that is when we see, The Miz and Maurice make their way out of the building, and the camera's sort of following here. And that is when The Miz's tone changes completely. And The Miz just says, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? All this stuff about friendship. Friendship? Miz takes the button and he throws it on the ground that Sami just gave him. Best friends. He threw the button on the ground. And Miz just stomps all over this button out in the parking lot. And that is when Miz says, I don't care anything about this friendship stuff. Sami, from the very beginning, he knows how this works. I'm out for one thing and one thing only. I'm going to take his United States Championship on Sunday, and I'm going to pin him to do it. So Miz has completely changed his tone here. Perhaps The Miz, is up to something. This has all been a big ruse. Miz is pissed off. Oh, poor Sami, who has walked off with a huge smile on his face about the friendship and all of this. And it turns out The Miz has destroyed the button. And The Miz's tone completely changes. And he tells Maurice, I'm going to take that championship from him. And I don't care what anyone thinks about our friendship. And that's it as they head off. And you can see Maurice just kind of standing there, not really knowing what to say, as The Miz has completely changed his tune here. So 70 overall for this one. Boy, how is this going to unfold? We will see on Sunday. In the Fatal 4-Way for the United States Championship, Sami Zayn defends against The Miz, Kevin Owens, and Johnny Gargano. All right, then our main... Oh, good grief. This is a terrible main event. 59, one of our worst main events ever on a television show, I have no doubt. Aleister Black gets the win over Nakamura, 12-13, the Black Mass. I mean, two good in-ring performances here, But one of the issues why this is happening is, and we've said it before, Black is not that over in comparison to probably where you think he is. Because remember, we started this in, June of 21? Lack of a storyline, so we could have added in something, but really we just didn't have much to add in here. Nakamura's declining physical ability, that's hurt a lot of the matches. His matches with Joe were not as good. So Nakamura, we're kind of starting to phase out a bit. I'm not going to lie to you. But, we had to put him in a match here. Match-wise, this has not been a great show, but I guess we should put The Miz and Humberto Carrillo in the main event because that would have been the best overall. But a 59 is just a brutal, brutal main event here. But the bigger story is after the match because afterwards, Bray Wyatt's out with Aleister Black. Just got a nice win over Nakamura here. Here comes Drew McIntyre. McIntyre's music hits, and he's coming out with full force. Crowd goes wild. Here comes perhaps the Royal Rumble favorite as he goes in and just starts hauling off on Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black. But as usual, these two are able to use the numbers to take the advantage on Drew, and this gets an 87 overall. So Drew getting taken out here. The crowd is kind of losing their mind. Once again, Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black, just like they did last week, just like they have done in the past, they're getting the better of Drew McIntyre, and that is when we hear the music of Damian Priest. And here comes Damian Priest as he comes in with a full head of steam. We can see kind of some bandages all over Priest after the attack that he had from Wyatt and Black. 84 for this one. He comes in, and it's Damian Priest who goes right in, takes it to Aleister Black, and then Drew McIntyre takes it to Aleister Black. McIntyre clotheslines Aleister Black over the top rope. Then it's Damian Priest clotheslining Bray Wyatt over the top rope. And that is when we have, in the middle of the ring, Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre standing tall as Bray Wyatt and Aleister Black once again forced to retreat as they have, in the past when Damian Priest has kind of made the save for McIntyre. Remember, that's kind of how all of this started, was McIntyre found himself in a one-on-two scenario, but then we sort of got the friendship brewing. Priest came out and made the save, and that's what's been going on here for about the past month and a half. And so Priest makes the save again for Drew McIntyre, holds up his arm, they stand tall in the middle of the ring, and that is how kind of your visual here leading into the Royal Rumble for these two. So an 84 overall for this. So McIntyre and Priest standing tall. And does that mean Damian Priest will be in the Royal Rumble? We don't know officially yet. Perhaps we'll get answers before the Men's Rumble match on Sunday. So that is that. But as we do that, we start to see the camera. And the camera is zooming out a bit, and it is going into a very familiar place. As we continue to see Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest on the screen, it goes to the table where Roman Reigns is sitting at the head of the table, as always, 99 segment. We almost got to 100. Jimmy Uso in a 99 segment. Come on, let's be honest. The Usos have just been fantastic. It is Reigns sitting at the head of the table, and there is Jimmy. And it is Jimmy Uso who is sitting there, just kind of standing there, looking at all of this. And that is when, Reigns just kind of says, "Look, Jimmy, I just want to say you did well. You did very well. And I just want you to know that your hard work out there and what you did to Seth Rollins will not go unnoticed." And then very quickly, that is when Reigns says, "That's why, Jimmy, next week, I want you to meet me in the middle of the ring because I have a reward for you." And that is how we go off of SmackDown. Roman Reigns watching the ring with Drew McIntyre standing tall, Damian Priest standing tall, and Roman Reigns watching a somewhat still unsure Jimmy Uso, given everything that's happened, standing right in front of him as the only one left after Heyman being attacked, Reigns attacking Jay. And Reigns just says, "Jimmy, I have a reward for you next week." So 99 for this one. That's how we end this edition of SmackDown. And we do get a 79, which the match rating really hurt here. The main event was not good, so that's why I got that. But we'll take it. As we say, our go-home shows are not always the best rated. But 79 overall for this edition. A nice go-home show, pushing a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff maybe you haven't even seen come together yet. You will. Let's see what we get to before we wrap up. All right, so that was SmackDown. As we said, positive show. Not one of our best in terms of overall episodes, but as we always say, sometimes our go-home shows are not great. Raw one was actually one of the best ones we've ever had, but SmackDown, we just didn't have a lot of matches we could lean on. We were kind of saving some things, and as we said, our main event just was completely terrible between Aleister Black and Shinsuke Nakamura, which kind of shows you the state of where things are if those two are having a terrible match in the main event. So yeah, that's that. But all right, that was SmackDown. This, I think, just Kaylee Ray. Yeah, we knew that was re-signing. Let's look at our mail here. All right, pregnant, so that's someone on our short list. Drug test fees. SmackDown gets a 5.69. Jinder Mahal, this is a booking complaint. My recent booking has been poor. I need to be given a chance to give some momentum and be relevant. Well, let's look at Jinder for a second. Let's see. Match history for Jinder. He's 51 overall in popularity. Match history. Well, 0, 0, and 4. That's just in 2022. How do we book Jinder in 2021? 4 and 16. All right. Well, maybe Jinder's got a point here because overall he's 4 and 20. Sorry, Jinder. I don't really have a lot of booking for you right now. But since you did complain, how about this? I will try to find something for Jinder on next week's edition of SmackDown. And you will not be, well, he's not going to be in the Rumble. I'm sorry. Just to tell you guys, he won't be in the Rumble. Anyways, Bayley changed her style. I was going to keep this. This was earlier in the week, actually. She changed her style from entertainer to a comedy wrestler. So Bayley is officially a comedy wrestler now. I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, I don't like that necessarily, but we know we can change that. We can talk to her, see if she wants to change her style away from comedy. I don't know. So maybe we can get her back to regular or something. We'll try to convince her, but I don't know if I love Bayley as a comedy wrestler. So that's that. So I wanted to note that there. Jinder is complaining. Well, that's fine. All right, so that was SmackDown. As we said, we're kind of setting in some stuff there that will play into things to come, not just the Royal Rumble, but beyond. But that was our Go Home edition for the Rumble. And as always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yes, on the next episode, we will do our Royal Rumble preview. So we'll look at the big matches, which that will not be as long because we had the look back episode to kind of bring the series back. So it won't be as long of a preview, but we will kind of put everything together, and that way you guys know what's on tap for the Rumble. Got some good undercard matches, and then, of course, the two Rumbles themselves, the men's and the women's, as I teased in another video. I am actually going to play both of those all the way through, meaning I will show you, I will kind of give you the developments. Now, look, it's not going to, each match is not going to take an hour, but the point is we will go 1 through 30. I will give you every elimination in both matches, and we will kind of tie in the story thread. You'll see how I do it. I think you guys will enjoy it. There will be a visual aspect to it, so you'll be able to see who's still in the ring, who's been eliminated, all of those good stuff. I'm putting together some stuff for that, so I really think you'll enjoy it. But because we are going to do all that, what that means is it will probably be a two-parter. We'll have Royal Rumble Part 1, Royal Rumble Part 2, and when I put those up and kind of the what the time frame is for both of those going up, I will let you know in the Royal Rumble preview. So appreciate, as always, great feedback. Check out all the other series going on the channel. And again, AEW 2022 and WCW 1998 will be back soon enough, but we are in a pay-per-view cycle with WWE, so we usually lean into those. And so I am working on both videos and the sort of the next videos in the series for WCW and AEW. So be sure to check those out. Exploring the C-Verse, you can check that out there. Looking at all the companies in the Cornell-verse if you want a little more insight into those. So again, appreciate you guys as always. On the next episode of our WWE 2022 series, it will be our Royal Rumble preview.